Yeah. Good morning, everyone. So yesterday we learned how to create a server using Node. So by using Node.js HTTP module, by using this HTTP module, we created an HTTP object. That HTTP object can create a server. So actually, this server can manage request and response. So we learned how to create a server and send the response. But by default, what kind of response we can send? We can send text response. If you want any specific response, so then here we have to write another point. The default response is in text plain format. So the response can be JSON, XML, HTML file, or text. So you can change the response format by using the write head function. By using write head function. So actually, the write head function, that means HTTP have a write head function. This function is going to get the status code and here options. We have to write the status code and options. So that means when the request is successful, then actually what is the status code? If request is successful, then the status code will be 200. 200 means okay. So 200 is the status code. 200 status code means okay. Some important status codes we will see here. Later we will use them. 200 means okay. On okay, what content type you need to send? Actually, header can send lot of details. We have to define the content type. What should be the content type? The content type can be text HTML or content type can be JSON. We have to mention the MIME type of the content. What type of content you are sending? The content MIME type you have to send. That you have to define. Yesterday we were sending a HTML message, but it is unable to show that in HTML because we haven't mentioned content type. So we mention the content type then. So the content type is already configured. Right. So the content type I mentioned here as HTML. So this is the server, and the content type we mentioned as text HTML, and we are sending HTML content. Yesterday we were not writing this function. So now we are adding that function. So node server.js, it starts. Now we are writing the right head. So this is HTTP localhost or 127001, port number 5000. Okay, now you can see the response is in HTML. It depends on the content type. For example, we are sending some JSON content. Suppose we are sending some array of objects. We have like name, we have like price, like this. We are sending some array of objects. It's a JSON type, mobile, and price. It is having some price like this. Now, usually after every modification, you need to compile. Now, when you send this, you can see that it is displayed in a different format. It is unable to show. Yeah, you can see that here the content type is invalid. That means it is error. Why it is error is because it must be a string type, but you are sending an array. So here what we do is we generally mention the type. What is the type? Actually, it is JSON only. Then we have to use application slash JSON, and that is MIME type of JSON. And here we need to convert this into JSON string. Actually, if you directly run this server.js and we refresh this here, so you can see that it is still invalid because it is saying that HTTP is unable to parse your data. So that means now this is a JSON. We have to use the method JSON dot parse. You know, JSON have a parse method. It is used to convert that into the JSON, but actually it is in JSON form only. It is in JSON form. So we are sending that data here. You can see that still it is having an error. Why? Because JSON.parse is not to convert into string. It is used to display any string in JSON. But already this is JSON. How to convert into string? JSON is converted into string by using another method. So that is, so JSON dot string5 method we have to use. String5 method is nothing but converts the JSON into which format? String format. Now you see here we are sending the data, it will come in that format. So the MIME type is important, conversion is also important. When you send a response, the response must be in a string format, but MIME type will convert it into JSON or HTML or XML. So always the response must be in a string format. So actually here the format of response is always string, which is converted into desired format using the MIME type defined in header. Using the MIME type defined in header. So if you are writing a HTML block, write in a string form. If you are writing a JSON, then convert into a string form. So text slash plain, text slash HTML, application slash JSON, like this. These are the MIME types. Application slash some file type like PDF. Right. So that is the format of response. This is one example. Here we will keep an example here. I'll just copy that, and that is example. So this is how we create a server and how it is going to handle request and send response. But what this server have to do is it should communicate with the database in the backend, get the data from there, and send that data. Currently, what it is doing, we are sending some data, some hard coded data, but it should send the data from the database. So, how server communicates with database? Server connection with database. How it can connect with database? Currently, server is not connecting with database. It is just communicating between the client and server. Means it is managing request from the client, processing that request and sending the response. But if client wants something from database, then how server will connect? Any server side technology cannot directly connect with database. They need database drivers. They need drivers. So actually, so server can connect with any database in the backend by using database drivers. Database drivers. So drivers act as middleware to handle communication between server side application and database. Server side application and database. Drivers act as middleware to handle communication between server side application and database. So any server side technology cannot directly interact with the database. They need drivers. So Java, .NET, PHP, Python. Actually, they use different middleware frameworks. For example, Java people use a middleware called JDBC. So JDBC is a middleware for Java based apps. ADO.NET is a middleware for .NET applications. Like that, a driver middleware is required which communicates with the database. And remember, which database they have to use. That completely depends on their requirement. That means it's not necessary that everyone have to use same database. And for every database, we have different drivers. We have to install them. You are connecting with MongoDB, then MongoDB drivers are present. You are connecting with Oracle drivers are present. SQL Server, MySQL. For every database, they have separate drivers. Actually, uh, many technologies are trying to create a driver which can communicate with all database, but it is not possible till now. It is not possible like that. But some technologies reduced drivers. That means they developed some drivers which can communicate with 2 3 databases, but not all databases. So drivers, every database requires its drivers. We have to install those drivers to communicate. So actually in your computer, you will in your computer you can search for ODBC, open data source, open database connectivity. Actually ODBC, you can search for ODBC in your computer control panel. You will have ODBC. When you go to ODBC, here you can see these are ODBC, and you can see it will show what are the drivers that already I am having in my PC. I have a driver for MS Access, Excel, Access database like drivers. We can add drivers. You can see there is a drivers category. In the drivers category, it will show SQL Server driver is installed in my computer. You can generally our developers can add the drivers here manually, and they can use the connections from here. So you have to install various drivers for communicating with different databases. So all databases don't have same drivers. So every database have its own drivers library, which a server which is used by server side application, which is used by server side application. Every database have its own drivers library. So here our database is MongoDB. So what you have to do is install MongoDB drivers library for project. You have to install npm, install MongoDB, and save. That is the MongoDB library. And all drivers are not same in functionality also. Every driver have different methods. And if you are connecting with MongoDB, then you don't need SQL queries. But if it is MySQL or Oracle, then you need the SQL queries, right? So we will install this MongoDB driver. So let's install the driver here. That means how to communicate with the database. So npm install MongoDB and save. Actually, several people who are working with MongoDB, they use another driver called Mongoose. There is a Mongoose driver also, but it is not necessary. That means Mongoose is a drivers library which uses ORM primary. I told you MongoDB uses an ORM. ORM is what is ORM? I explained the concept. ORM, object relational mapping. What is ORM? Developers can write for business requirements instead of writing for database. So if their requirement is ORM, majority ORM, ORM means database is not ready. Database will be later ready. In such cases, Mongoose is good. Mongoose is good. So MongoDB is enough if you already have database. Even MongoDB also can create database, and this is enough to communicate with the database. With the backend, we can communicate with the database with MongoDB. Because many people on internet post examples according to their requirement of project. That means in which environment they are working, according to that what they know, they post on internet. Due to that, you may be confused like, do I need to use this or that? Until or unless you know the concept. You know the concept that if you have to deal with ORM, then use Mongoose. Otherwise, MongoDB is enough. You don't need to follow what they are following in their company, right? Majority YouTube and online website blogs, people who post examples, they post them in such a way how they worked in their project. What is their requirement? According to that, they post. Due to that, you will be confused. So it's why you should follow their approach. According to your project, you will follow the approach. So don't worry about Mongoose. Without that, you can handle it. You can just use this MongoDB. Okay. Once you install this MongoDB, now next important is after installing MongoDB, how we connect with MongoDB. So MongoDB drivers library provides Mongo client class. It provides a class called Mongo client. Provides Mongo client class with all properties and methods that are required to connect with the database and manipulate the collections. To connect with the database and to manipulate the collections, whatever properties and methods are required, those properties and methods are provided by a class called Mongo client. So what you have to do is you have to create a Mongo client app object, require which module, MongoDB module. In that there is a class called Mongo client. That is the class. So you have to import MongoDB module. In that module, there is a class called Mongo client. You have to import that class. And how to create an object for the class in order to access the class members already we know. Now, through this class, you can connect with the database. So, this Mongo client object provides a connect method. This connect method is expecting connection string. It is expecting a connection string. And recently, this is changed into a promise. Earlier, we used to have this method as callback. You know the difference between callback and promises. Earlier, these methods used to be callback methods. Now, recently, they changed it to promise methods. Promises. Promises means what they have. Promises means they have then, catch, and finally. Earlier, they were not like that. Earlier, they were callbacks. They use a callback function. But now they changed it. The library changed. You have to use then. Then. So then we have to define a function. This function is going to get an object. This object is responsible for this OBJ can connect with the database and collections. That object can connect with database and collections. That OBJ is responsible. That object is responsible for connecting with database and the collections. So your server side logic will be same. You should add this extra. So already we created a server. Okay, we created a server and we mentioned what type of response it should send. But what is the data it has to send? It should send the data coming from database. So here we have to connect with the database. How? First we will import where Mongo client is equal to require which module MongoDB in that which class Mongo client class. That's what you have to do. So MongoDB is a module and Mongo client is a class. It is a class. And this class allow making connections to the MongoDB database. It will provide all the properties and methods. Okay. And don't get confused. I am giving class name, object name same, only capitalization I am changing. So you can use any name for class variables. That means for object, you can use any name. I'm just giving same name. Now what should happen here? By using Mongo client, have a connect method. You can connect with MongoDB. How to connect with MongoDB? It is expecting MongoDB connection string. And see, recently it became a promise actually. Earlier it was not that. That is the reason actually few months back who learned these connections and all from us, they are now posting doubts in the classrooms and sending email saying that, sir, few months back when I practiced, it was working, but now it is not working. Why? Because recently the MongoDB and Oracle, MySQL, all these drivers, they changed themselves from callback to promise. Earlier they were using callback, now they are using promise. So syntax changed a little bit. If you still follow the old technique in new version, it will not work. New version, promise advantage is asynchronous, it is fast. So that is the reason everything is a promise now. So we have to use like promise. Okay, what is connection string? MongoDB connection string. MongoDB connection string is MongoDB, MongoDB colon double slash 127.001.27017. Already I showed you the Mongo connection string. Okay. Dot then we will create one client object. This client object can communicate with the database. With which database you want to connect? We created one database now. What was it? Huh? In MongoDB Compass, let's which one? React data. Na? We created one database. Huh? A sample database we created. So this is the connection string. Already we know the connection string. Huh. We created some database or already we deleted. Okay, fine. Okay, we will create one database by name React data. Okay. And we will add some collection. Collection is products. Products is a collection. Okay. And into that we will import data. Import from a JSON file. And already we have products data JSON file. I will import from that all some 20 documents imported. That means we created a database. So some name. Okay, fine. So this is having just React data, DAT. That is the file name, database name. Okay. So now with which database you have to connect? Client object uses a method called DB. DB. DB is to define which database. Database name. React date. DAT. That is the database name. Okay. That means now this database will be loaded into memory. Then how you access it? We will create one reference where database is equal to this. That means now this database can be accessed with the reference of what? Database. So now in that database, what you have? we have a collection called products. So through database, you can access collection. Which collection? Collection name. Collection name is what? Products. Okay, what you want to do on that collection? You can insert, you can update, you can delete. You want to read. How to read data from a collection? Already we learned a method. What is the method? Find. And find what? You can write a query, or you can define simply empty. It will read all. It is going to read all the records. Any specific record, you know how to write the query. ID is to, you learned already find queries. Empty will read all. Okay, after reading all, we have to convert that into two array. We have to convert into array because multiple data is coming. Convert into array. After converting to array, array is also a promise now. Previously, array was also a callback. Now it is a promise. That means this array uses a then, dot then. This then is going to collect all the documents. It is going to collect all the documents. That means whatever documents returned by this find function, it is going to return all the documents. If it is successful, then it will return documents. So what we have to do, send the documents to the client. That means we will use response dot what? Write. Response dot write. JSON dot what? String 5. What? Documents. Documents is an array. We are sending all the documents there. That means whatever documents collected, we are converting into a string and we are sending into the client. Okay, let's see. This is ready now. I will run this node server.js. And now when I request this here, when I request this refresh, this time it should get all the data coming from that particular location. Some problem is there. We need to end the response here, no? End the response here. After write, end the response here. Okay, right. Okay, now let's refresh this. It will get all the data and show. This is the data coming from the database. We don't want all the records. Then you change the find query. What is it? Category is what? Jewelry, something. Now you see that it is going to compile one more time and refresh. This time only jewelry products will come. It is not returning all the records, only the jewelry products it is going to show. So we are able to communicate with the database, get the data, and we are returning the data. So Mongo database can be accessed through any server-side technology by using the MongoDB drivers. And in the drivers, we have important methods. One is connect. Another important, we have some methods. What are those? Here, the client object on successful connection on successful connection can communicate with database and collections. So where database is equal to So client, the object have dot db and database name. Database dot collection and the collection name dot find. You have insert one. We have insert many. We have like others, already. Update one. How to update, delete, everything I will show you here. So others, delete one. These are all the queries we are having. So communicating with the database requires all this. Right. So let's see one more time the complete process. So I'm cleaning up all the code. Let's see all the code from the beginning. How to do? First, you need two libraries. One for server, another for MongoDB. So where HTTP require HTTP. This is for server. Another one, Mongo client require MongoDB. In the MongoDB, we need what? Mongo client. Okay. Now we need to create a server. So HTTP dot create server. Request 200 on that. So we need to configure the function, callback function. We will directly define the callback function, request and response. Okay. So create server doesn't require here. I will just put a request and a response. How do we handle? Now, the same, actually, previous approach, how we done in the same way, right? Only the point is here, now we need to decide what kind of data we are going to send. Then we have to define response dot write head, and the status code is 200. And on the 200 status code, so we have to define content type. Content type. What is the content type? Application slash JSON, because we are trying to communicate with the database and set. Okay. Now we need to configure the connection. Mongo client dot connect. Connect with MongoDB, that is MongoDB colon double slash 127.0.0.1 dot. Then if connection is successful, then we will have a client object, and through that client object we can communicate with any database inside. So where database is equal to client object db and database name react dat, and through the database we have to access collection. The collection name is products. Dot what? Find all. Convert this to array, and dot then collect all the documents and send these documents. Response dot what? Write JSON dot string file and all the documents. After that, response dot end. That's how we are defining. Now the server have to start. So if server have to start dot what? Listen. Listen on some 4000 port number. And we will put a message console.log server started and http colon 127.0.0.1 4000. That is the request here. Now let's run this node server.js. Now we need to make a request here 4000. Then it is going to get all the documents and show. We are communicating with the database and we are handling the connection. This is how we communicate with the database and manage. This is one complete example. I will copy this example here. So we have example server dot what JS. Before that, make sure that you installed MongoDB. Above already I given that. So this is a simple communication. But important is as we learned that this Node.js is a single threaded environment. When it is a single threaded environment, handling multiple requests simultaneously becomes a tough job. That is the reason we use a special framework. By using that framework, we can create server side app in such a way which can handle multiple requests and responses simultaneously. And one popular framework for Node.js to create server-side apps in a better way is Express.js. Express.js. With Node.js already we are doing. It's working fine. We can directly use this. But Node.js is not good with multiple requests and responses simultaneously directly. It requires a special framework called Express.js. Actually, Express.js is called as a middleware. Every network-based application requires middleware. This is Express.js. This is an web application framework. Express.js is an framework. So this Express.js is a web framework for Node.js. You know what is a framework? Framework is a collection of libraries. A framework is a set of libraries. Now, what is the specialty about this? What is the main purpose of this library? What is the concept of library? So it have a lot of functionalities. It is good for creating server-side web applications, for creating what APIs, and it provides better features and important. So it is a middleware. Means Express have some middleware modules. Middleware means responsible for handling communication between the client and server. Actually, middleware is a software framework used in network-based applications to handle communication. Every technology have to use middleware. Java middlewares are there, .NET middlewares are there, Oracle middleware is there, Java and .NET and other technologies have their own middlewares. I think it means if you worked with those technologies, you know them. Uh, Popular middlewares, one is Express. You have a middleware called Oracle Fusion. Oracle Fusion. Cisco have middlewares. So many popular middleware softwares are there. Actually, we have a middleware called Oracle Fusion. So Oracle Fusion, this is Oracle Fusion. This Oracle Fusion is one of the popular middleware used for cloud web-based applications actually. And it is used for handling communication, complete communication. Actually, that is the Oracle Fusion middleware this is. These days, there are so many middlewares, but middleware is a framework which is responsible for handling so many things, right? So what is this Express.js? Actually, Express.js is, it is a web application framework for JavaScript applications, JavaScript apps. It is a web application framework for JavaScript apps. So it provides various libraries to create complex web and mobile apps. You can create web and mobile applications using the libraries provided by Express.js. So it provides libraries for creating complex APIs, complex APIs for web, for distributed applications, for distributed applications. So not only that, it provides middleware modules to handle communication in network based applications. So Express.js have a lot of libraries inside. It's a very big one. You can create server side web applications and mobile applications. You can create APIs. You can use it as a middleware. Sometimes people use this only for certain purpose, but it has a wide range of functionality. You can use the Express for building mobile and web applications. You can use it for building complex APIs. You can use it for communication, just like a middleware. That is the reason many times people call Express as middleware. But Express is not just only middleware, it is more than that. That means it is an web application framework. You should better call it as web application framework. And what this framework can do is it can build apps, it can create communication, handle APIs, everything it can do. So let's see how to do that. That means now we will see how to use Express.js and create an app. So actually, why we are creating an app with Express.js and not with Node.js? Because Express.js provides better features for Node.js. to handle communication, to convert the data and all. That's the reason directly using Node.js is not enough. We have to use this framework. So same, you learned React directly. Only React can't do everything. For forms, we have a form library. For API, we have a API library. Validation library. Same like that. So what you have to do is, so first install Express for your project. So npm install Express and save. Now create a server side app using Express. You can create a server side app using Express. That means we have to first import Express, require Express. After that, we have to create an app using that Express. Now this app will have various methods: get, post, put, patch, delete, like that. So many are there. HTTP methods are so many, like purge. So many HTTP methods are there. So now this app can work as server side application to handle the communication between the client and server, which is ready to communicate with backend database also. Now, this app uses server side routing. That means how you can make a request, how it will respond. That means Express app API uses server side routing. It uses server side routing. That means app.get here slash, we have a request and a response like this. So like app.get slash home request and response. Same like how you used client side routing. You have server side routing. That means what are the requests expected from client? And on that request, what is the response to be sent? That is designed in this way. Now, this time, we will not use Node.js HTTP object. What we do is here, let's make some change. Here, I'm making some change. First, install npm install Express and save. We are installing Express.js. Okay. It is saying some new version is available. Okay. After installing Express, first we have to just create an object, require what Express. Then we create an app using Express. And through this app, we can create the method get. If it is slash, slash means request and response. Slash means what? Default. That means if user is not requesting anything, by default, what to send? Already we saw that wildcard routes. So here, response dot send. You can send anything as response now. What is the specialty here? Express will understand what is the content type, and according to that, it will transform. That looks better because in Node.js, what we have to do, we have to convert manually everything, but it can easily send any kind of data. For example, now send what? So we will say welcome to Express.js. Okay. And after that, this is one request. We will create another request slash products, then request and response. And what this response have to do? Response dot send. This time it is sending an array of objects. So name and the price like this we are sending. Okay, a name and price. Okay, these are the details it is sending. Okay, fine. Now after this, we have app.get asterisk. You know what is asterisk? What is asterisk? That means you requested something and it is not available. Then response dot what? Send. Send, say, we will put a code and say not found. Page you requested, not found. Something like this we given code. And every time after response dot end, response should end after sending that end. Now here, so app dot listen, listen on which port number? Some 5000, 4545 something. And console dot log, so server started on http colon double slash 127.0.0.1 colon 4545. That is the number. Now let's run this and see this time. So node server.js. Now here server started. You make a request. What is it? http colon 127.0.0.1 colon 4545. Just enter. Then it will get welcome to Express.js. Okay, slash products. Slash products will get the JSON data. You don't need any conversions. And here I am requesting like login, then it says not found. Whatever you are requesting, it is not there. So that means now the server side app is perfectly working with different requests. Now here, how to communicate with the database, get the data and show the data same. You should put that Mongo client inside this. That means what we have to do here to communicate with the database and get the products data. Here we need to do some change. What is that change? So here we have to import one more. What is it? Where Mongo client is equal to require. Require what? MongoDB. In that what? Mongo client. Mongo client. In this Mongo client, here products. Here we have to connect. Mongo client dot connect. Connect with MongoDB. MongoDB colon double slash 7001 27017 and dot then if it is successful, client object. Through this client object, where database is equal to client object DB, React DAT. Okay. And the database dot what collection name is what products dot what find all dot to array dot then, and collect all the documents and send the documents. Response dot send. Here it is send. Send what documents. Here response dot send and response dot end, and it is ready. Now we will run this one more time, and this time we are expecting slash products. It is getting all the products and showing the same thing, but this time slash products will get all the products, slash categories will get all the categories, slash products slash one, it will get only specific product. We can write the queries in that way. That means now we need to learn how to write the server side routes. That means we need to learn how to create the API. This is an example. This is server dot what JS. That is the example.